Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. First, a correction. Yesterday I said that the federal government would spend an additional $100 to $300 million per day during the shutdown. I had those figures wrong. Those figures reflect what the government will continue to spend every day during shutdown. This is normal operating costs. The 23% of federal employees that are locked out of their offices for the shutdown, this is a lesser number than would be spent if they were still at work. From what I understand and what I've read again and looked into a little bit, the idea that the government is spending additional money during the shutdown is not true. But when the federal employees return from furlough, they will... See how I got the word furlough right there? They will get their money back. They will get back pay. This is the equivalent of a company laying you off because they can't get their budgetary situation straight. And when you come back, the private company having to pay you back pay by law, because that's what's going on with the federal government and their employees. Our employees. Not cool. I had a conversation with Grok, who is obviously leaning toward the liberal side of things on this particular subject. And Grok was telling me that the idea that the government employees would just be without pay isn't fair. No, it's absolutely fair. You don't do work, you don't get pay. As far as the politicians go, I don't believe that they should be getting paid either. Period. And I think that they should probably lose their wages. They shouldn't get back pay when they finally get the budget figured out. I bet at that point that the Democrats, who I am blaming specifically for this shutdown, I bet at that point they decide, well, maybe we'll have another look at this budget and vote yet. So I got the numbers wrong. Took care of that. When you make a mistake, admit it, move on. So that brings me to the focus that I'm kind of pondering this morning, and that is that Texas is investigating teachers who made, they won't release the exact posts that the teachers made, but Texas is investigating teachers who made posts about the Charlie Kirk shooting. It caught my attention this morning because last night we watched Crowder do his Prove Me Wrong interaction with students, I think at SMU. At any rate, he's back on campuses. He's wearing a bulletproof vest. He is wearing a bulletproof vest. He's also hired, from what he said, I believe what he said was $250,000 worth of security. So this morning when I woke up and I was perusing the news on my phone, I found the article about Texas and how they're investigating what these teachers posted about the Charlie Kirk shooting. One of them said that it was karma. And the lawyers for the teachers or I guess for the specific teacher, are saying that this is free speech, and whether it was done at work or at home shouldn't matter. This is free speech, and the teacher should not have any punishment and should certainly not be fired because of it. I disagree. Not for the reasons that you probably think. I do agree it is free speech, and I don't think that the teacher should be fired because they made a statement during their own time, not while they were, nothing that they did in front of the students. I think they should be fired because the parents of the students don't want them there. I think that their right to keep a job is non-existent. It is a privilege. And the idea that an employer, in this case, the parents of the students, should have the ability to say, you got to go. You're affecting kids' lives. And, as I have stated before, you're creating monsters that are killing people. You're doing this. And whether you know you're doing it or not, you're doing it. The idea that the left has been allowed to take over our teaching institutions, the learning centers that shape the minds of our students, this has got to stop. We cannot continue to let indoctrination into the Democratic Party go on. And unions be damned. You got to go. If you're affecting the kids so negatively that you're creating all these monsters now, something's got to change. You have all the free speech you want. If my employer sees this episode of this podcast and says, you are a hateful individual and we don't want you in our workplace, I got nothing to say about that. I have to hang my head and get my stuff and go. I got good coffee to go today. So yes, I think the teacher can be allowed to be fired for what they said. I think it's unfortunate that it's being done by the state, on the state level. I think that schools should be run locally. And I think they're too big. I think that most people who can afford to take their kids out of public schools at this point should do so. This is voting with your wallet. And I know that they're still going to tax you. And I know that that money's still going to go to that learning institution. But I promise you, if the school attendance of students falls below a certain level, they will start laying off teachers. In another story, I read about a professor, I'm trying to remember, at Cornell. And he had 2 of his classes canceled because a Jewish student said that the teacher asked him to take a different class or to drop out of that class because the student was Jewish, the professor's Jewish, but the professor's pro-Palestine, and the professor is saying that this is coming from pressure from the administration, the president's administration, to get it straight, and that Cornell is bending a knee so that they can get their funding back from the federal government. Well, they canceled the professor's classes because the student recorded the conversation, and the investigator that represents Cornell found in the student's favor. This professor is tenured, and from what I understand, a tenured professor is damn hard to get rid of. It is very difficult to fire, suspend, or do anything to a tenured professor. Well, I'm sure that this professor is very liberal. My views on Gaza and Israel are very, very mixed. It's not anything that is straight down the middle. That's something for another episode. This specifically has to do with the ability for a liberal professor to teach their ideology and mold the minds of our students and create monsters. You can have all the free speech you want, and you can create any class you want. What you don't have a right to is to create Democrats, to create individuals who are buying hook, line, and sinker the idea that we have a Hitler in the presidency. We don't. We have a nutty, crazy guy in the presidency, but I believe that we have a strong enough system to keep him in check. He's not winning all of his court cases. He's winning a lot of them, but he's not winning all of them. As far as the student and the teachers in Texas that are under investigation, this is kind of your own fault. Not the freedom of speech issue, but the idea that they can take your speech and use it against you. That's what the woke movement was all about. So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You started doing all of this actions against people who you didn't believe in their ideology or political point of view. And now the tables have turned. The pendulum is swinging. Let's hope it don't swing too hard. This is not. This is a monster of your own creation. We're supposed to be teaching students to think. We're not supposed to be teaching students to think a specific way. We're supposed to be letting them figure things out, having the ability to take data and suss out the truth. And that's not what you're doing. What you're doing is indoctrinating students into your political point of view. And your political point of view has led to a lot of upheaval in America. Let's talk about my sound system. I was fiddling with the knobs, and I blamed iOS 26 on my sound issues, and it was my fiddling with the knobs that was the problem. I think I've got it straight, or else this whole diatribe about the freedom of speech and teachers is right out the window. On the other hand, I am doing an audio recording on my Zoom device, so I'll have a backup. I think I've got it figured out. It's Thursday. I'm having a pretty good week. It didn't go the way I was hoping it would go, but I'm having a pretty good week. I have a very supportive wife. There are many blessings in my life, and I try and remember them and count them every day. I hope that you can find a lot of blessings in your life. I hope that you can see the truth through the haze of all the white noise that surrounds us on the daily. It is difficult sometimes to push all that interference out of the way so that you can see the path, the true path to enlightenment. Whether it's political or on a personal level or anywhere, at work, at home, cutting your grass. I have to cut my grass one more time. I hope that I was done, but I have to cut my grass. Not a big yard work fan. I've been perusing the robot lawnmowers again. I may end up doing that eventually. I don't know. Thrifty. Save a buck today. It's Thrifty Thursday. I'm trying to stay in a good mood. I woke up in a good mood, and although I read some disturbing articles this morning, I am still in a good mood. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take on the day. I'm going to kick it square in the teeth and make it mine. And I'm going to have a good day. I hope that you have a fantastic, alliteration. I hope that you have a thrifty Thursday. And I hope that you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, arrivederci.